A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew chapter 22, verses 34 to 40. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. When the Pharisees heard how he had bested the Sadducees, they gathered their forces for an assault. One of their religion scholars spoke for them, posing a question they hoped would show him up. "Teacher, which command in God's law is the most important?" Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence. This is the most important, the first on any list. But there is a second to set alongside it. Love others as well as you love yourself. These two commands are pegs. Everything in God's law and the prophets hangs from them." The Gospel of the Lord. Reflections on the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 22, verses 34 to 40. The question on the greatest commandment was also a tricky one. For the Jews, the law of Sabbath and its related prescriptions were very important. Perhaps this was the intention of Matthew, to set the priorities right in his community, which was mostly composed of Jewish Christians. The Judaisers were arguing for following the numerous Jewish regulations, and Matthew addresses this issue by reminding them of the commandment of love as taught by Jesus. This is the foundation of our life in faith, love. Our love for our God and love for our neighbor. You cannot love God without loving your neighbor, and you cannot love your neighbor without loving God. Our love for our brothers and sisters is the best witness to our love for God. Love shall be the core or the center of all that we plan, say, and do. Our life in faith and our service to our brothers and sisters are inseparable. Our life in prayer and reception of the sacraments cannot be separated from listening to the other, closeness to their lives, especially to their wounds. Remember this, love is the measure of faith. Love of God and love of neighbor are neither two precepts nor formulas. Pope Francis explains this as a glimpse of two faces, the face of the Father and the face of our brother and sister. In fact, only one real face, the face of God. God's face is reflected in the face of each brother and sister, especially of the most fragile, the defenseless, and the needy. Because we are created in God's own image. And we must ask ourselves, when we meet one of these brothers, are we able to recognize the face of God in him? Indeed, we are created to love and to be loved. God, who is love, created us to make us participate in his life, to be loved by him and to love him, and with him to love all other people. This is God's dream for mankind. And to accomplish it, we need his grace. We need to receive within us the capacity to love which comes from God himself. Jesus offers himself to us in the Eucharist for this very reason. In the Eucharist, we receive Jesus in the utmost expression of his love. Sharing the body of Christ, we participate in this covenant of love. If we fail to love our brethren, our participation in the Eucharist would be meaningless. Today, we have no problem in accepting the priority of love in principle. But sometimes we fail to realize that love of neighbor involves concern for justice, truth, freedom, peace, and concern for the poor.